The call came at 2:47 a.m., jolting me awake with that specific ringtone I'd assigned to my mother years ago, the one that always made my stomach clench. I almost declined it, like I had dozens of times before, but something in me hesitated. Maybe it was the late hour, or maybe it was the fact that she hadn't tried to contact me in 8 months. My name is Skylar, and I'm the kind of person who color codes their budget spreadsheets and has their retirement plan mapped out at 25. The kind of person who's been working since 16, who moved out at 18, and who learned early that depending on family was a luxury I couldn't afford. "Mom?" I answered, voice rough with sleep. "Baby, I need you." The tremor in her voice was familiar, theatrical almost, but with just enough genuine panic to make my chest tight. "The bank. They're taking the house. Your childhood home, Skylar. I don't know what to do." I sat up in bed, fully awake now. "What do you mean, taking the house?" "Foreclosure." She choked on a sob. "I need help. I know I have no right to ask, but you're the only one, the only responsible one." Classic mom. Flattery wrapped in crisis, served with a side of guilt. But something felt different this time. The desperation in her voice seemed real. "I'll come by tomorrow," I said, already regretting it. "No, please, now, I can't sleep. Mauricio is here. He can explain everything better than I can." "Mauricio? My husband." I nearly dropped the phone. "Your what?" "Please, Skylar, just come." 40 minutes later, I pulled up to the house I'd sworn never to return to. Except it wasn't the same house. This one was bigger, newer, in a better neighborhood. A sleek black Mercedes sat in the driveway alongside Mum's familiar, beaten-up Civic. Mum threw open the door before I could knock. She looked different. Expensive highlights, designer clothes, but with red-rimmed eyes and smeared mascara that seemed genuine enough. "Baby!" She pulled me into a hug that smelled of Chanel No. 5 and desperation. A man appeared behind her. Tall, distinguished-looking, maybe early 50s. He wore a cashmere sweater that probably cost more than my monthly rent. "You must be Skylar," he said, extending his hand. "I'm Mauricio. Your mother speaks of you often." I bet she does, I thought, but shook his hand anyway. They led me to a living room that looked like it belonged in a magazine. Mum perched on the edge of an elegant sofa, wringing her hands. "The thing is," she began, "we're behind on payments. The bank won't work with us anymore. They're giving us 2 weeks. Mauricio nodded gravely. "I've tried everything. My assets are tied up in development projects. If we had just $30,000 to bring the mortgage current..." I felt my eyebrows rise. "$30,000? "I know you're good with money, baby," Mum said quickly. "You always save. And I know it's so much to ask, but Mauricio will match whatever you can contribute. We just need to buy time until his next project closes." "I've never asked for help before," she added softly. I almost laughed at that lie, but something in her eyes stopped me. She looked scared, really scared. "Can I see the foreclosure notice?" I asked. Mum glanced at Mauricio. "It's all filed electronically now, but we can show you the payment history." "Tomorrow," Mauricio cut in smoothly. "The hour is late. Perhaps Skylar needs time to think?" I nodded, standing. The whole situation felt off, but I couldn't put my finger on why. Mum walked me to the door, clutching my arm. "Please, baby, I know I've made mistakes, but this is different. I can't lose everything now, not when things are finally getting better." I promised to think about it, just to make her let go of my arm. As I turned to leave, something caught my eye in the kitchen. Glossy brochures on the counter. Cruise line brochures. One was folded open to a Caribbean itinerary, with next week's date circled in red. My mother's voice called after me. "Drive safe, baby!" I got into my car, hands shaking slightly as I gripped the steering wheel. The cruise brochures kept flashing in my mind. Something was very wrong here, and for once in my life, I was going to figure out exactly what it was. "Those cruise brochures can't be a coincidence," I said, pacing our apartment kitchen, while my roommate Jocelyn sat at the counter, nursing her morning coffee. "Your mum's always been sketchy with money," Jocelyn replied. "But asking for 30 grand while planning a vacation? That's next level." I pulled out my laptop. "Help me dig?" "Girl, you know I live for this drama." Jocelyn slid her chair closer. "Where do we start?" Property records, they're public. I typed rapidly, pulling up the county assessor's website. Let's see what this house situation really is. 20 minutes later, we sat staring at the screen in disbelief. No mortgage, Jocelyn whispered. The house is owned free and clear by Mauricio Perkins Properties, LLC, which means no foreclosure. My hands were shaking. She lied. Again. I grabbed my phone, scrolling through old emails until I found what I was looking for. My grandmother Marlene's contact info. We hadn't spoken in years, not since Mum turned the family against her. But if anyone knew the truth. She answered on the second ring. Skylar, is everything okay? Grandma, I need to ask you something about Mum, about the old house. A long pause. You better come over, honey. There's a lot you should know. An hour later, I sat in Marlene's small but immaculate living room, clutching a cup of tea that had gone cold. Your mother sold the old house last year, Marlene said, pulling out a folder stuffed with newspaper clippings and documents. Made quite a profit, too. The neighbourhood had gentrified. She told everyone she was starting fresh, finding herself. Marlene's laugh was bitter. Next thing we knew, she'd married this developer. Mauricio. But why lie about foreclosure? Why ask me for money when... Because that's what Angela does, Marlene cut in. Here, look at these. She spread out papers across her coffee table. Bank statements, court documents, letters from attorneys. 10 years ago, she convinced me to cash out my retirement to invest in a business opportunity. $45,000. When I asked for it back, she turned hysterical, told everyone I was trying to ruin her life. Marlene's hands trembled slightly. The family believed her. They always do. I remember that fight, I said softly. She told me you were trying to control her, that you were jealous of her success. Success? Marlene snorted. Check your old accounts, Skylar, the ones she had access to when you were younger. I bet you'll find some interesting transactions. Back home, I did exactly that. It took 3 password reset attempts, but I finally got into my teenage savings account, the one Mom had helped me set up at 16 for my first job. Holy shit, Jocelyn breathed, looking over my shoulder. Is that? A cruise confirmation, booked last week using my old account number. I felt sick. She must have kept the information all these years, waiting. But there's no money in that account anymore, right? No, I cleared it out when I moved out. The charge will bounce. I kept scrolling through Mom's emails. She'd used my old email address as the backup for her accounts. Look at this. She's been planning this cruise for months. It's some luxury package with Mauricio. While asking you to bail her out of a fake foreclosure? Jocelyn shook her head. That's cold, even for her. My phone buzzed. A text from Mum. Have you thought about helping your family? Time is running out, baby. I stared at the message, something hardening inside me. You know what? I'm done being manipulated. I opened my laptop again, this time searching for Mauricio's business contacts. His company website listed his partner, Philip Nichols. What are you doing? Jocelyn asked. Getting answers. I found Philip's business email. Mum's been lying to everyone for years, playing us against each other. Maybe it's time someone started telling the truth. Be careful, Jocelyn warned. Your mum's got a way of turning things around. Not this time. I started typing the email to Philip. This time I have proof, and I'm going to make sure everyone sees exactly who she really is. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Mum. Mauricio's planning a farewell dinner next week. Small gathering, very elegant. We'd love for you to come, baby. Show everyone what a loving daughter you are. I smiled grimly at the screen. Oh, I'll come to dinner, Mom. But you might not like what I'm bringing to the table. Skylar? Jocelyn's voice held a warning note. Don't worry, I said, hitting send on the email to Philip. I'm not going to cause a scene. I'm going to do something much worse. I'm going to tell the truth. There's more, Marlene said, pulling a dusty box from her hall closet. I've been keeping these for years, hoping someone would finally want to know the truth. I'd come back to my grandmother's house after Philip's cryptic response to my email. Let's talk. Some things aren't adding up on our end either. Marlene dumped the contents of the box onto her dining room table, a cascade of papers, photos, and notebooks spanning decades of my mother's deceptions. Look at this first, she said, handing me a court summons from 15 years ago. Your mother borrowed money from your Aunt Sarah for a medical emergency. When Sarah tried to collect, Angela claimed she'd never received the money, even testified to it in court. How much? 20,000. Sarah had to sell her car to cover the debt she took on to help her sister. Marlene's voice cracked. She couldn't afford Christmas presents for her kids that year? My hands trembled as I sorted through more documents. Credit card statements, bounce checks, tearful letters from family members begging for repayment. Wait, I said, picking up a small leather-bound journal. Is this your mother's? Found it when she left it here years ago. Page 47. Read it. I flipped to the page, dated 5 years ago. My blood ran cold. Leverage inventory, I read aloud. Skylar, responsible, career-focused. Guilt points, childhood sacrifices, single mother struggles, financial pressure, high savings, emotional weakness about family obligations. Below my name was my brother's. Kyson, unreliable, easily manipulated. Guilt points, father abandonment, need for maternal approval, financial pressure, none. Broke, but useful for emotional manipulation of siblings. Keep reading, Marlene urged. Sarah, bleeding heart, trusting. Guilt points, sister bond, Christian values, financial pressure, home equity, children's college funds. I couldn't continue. She categorized everyone like we were marks in a Kong game. Because that's exactly what we were. Marlene pulled out her phone, showing me a recent text. Your brother messaged me yesterday. First time in years. Guess what he wanted? Money? Said your mum told him I was hoarding family inheritance, that I owed him his share. She laughed bitterly. There is no inheritance. Your mother made sure of that years ago. My phone buzzed. A text from Kyson. Hey sis, you talking to mum? She says you're being difficult about helping with the house. Don't be selfish. Right on cue, I muttered. There's something else you need to see. Marlene pulled out a thick manila envelope. These are photos from your mother's first wedding. Not to your father or Kyson's father, to a man named Robert 20 years ago. The photos showed my mother, younger but wearing that same manipulative smile, next to a distinguished-looking man in an expensive suit. What happened to him? She cleaned out their joint accounts while he was on a business trip. Nearly $500,000. He had a heart attack when he found out. Did he die? No, but she told everyone he did. Used it for sympathy points when she met your father. Marlene's eyes were hard. She's doing it again, Skylar. Same pattern, different mark. This time it's Mauricio. The cruise, I said slowly. She's planning something. Check the dates on those cruise tickets again. I pulled up the confirmation email. Next Wednesday to... Oh, God. What? It's one way. Only she and Mauricio are booked for the departure, but only she has a return ticket. My hands started shaking. She's going to clean him out during the trip. Like Robert? No, I said, reading through more of Mauricio's company details on my phone. Much bigger. Mauricio's company is about to close a huge development deal. The profits would be in their joint account by the time they're at sea. Marlene grabbed my arm. Skylar, listen to me. Your mother isn't just manipulative. She's dangerous. When people confront her... I know. I stood up, gathering the most damning documents. That's why we're not confronting her. We're going to do something much worse. What? We're going to that farewell dinner, and we're going to let her hang herself with her own lies. I held up her journal. Every single one of them. My phone buzzed again. Mum. Baby, about the dinner. Wear something nice. Mauricio's friends are very influential people. Wouldn't want them thinking I raised you wrong. I texted back, Don't worry, Mum. I'll make sure everyone sees exactly how you raised me. Looking up at Marlene, I felt a cold certainty settle over me. She taught me everything I know about planning ahead. Time to show her how well I learned. Philip agreed to meet me at a quiet coffee shop downtown, away from his and Mauricio's usual business haunts. He arrived exactly on time, wearing an expensive suit that somehow made him look more worried than professional. I had my assistant verify some things after your email, he said, sitting down with his espresso. The numbers don't match what Angela told us. What exactly did she tell you? That she owned the house outright, but medical debt from her last divorce forced her to take out a predatory loan. He rubbed his temples. Mauricio wanted to help, but our company's funds are tied up in the River Heights development until closing. There is no loan, I said, sliding copies of the property records across the table. And no medical debt. But I bet the River Heights timing isn't a coincidence. Philip studied the documents, his frown deepening. The closing is next week, day after they leave for the cruise. He looked up sharply. How did you know about the cruise? Because she booked it using my old account information. I showed him the confirmation emails. Notice anything strange about the tickets? He scanned them quickly. Only one return. Jesus. He pulled out his phone, scrolling rapidly. The River Heights profits would hit our accounts that Friday. Mauricio gave Angela joint access to everything when they married. How much? 7 figures. He put down his phone. But there's something else. The trust fund? What trust fund? Mauricio's lawyer insisted on a post-nuptial agreement. Any proven financial fraud voids Angela's claims to shared assets. He leaned forward. If someone could prove she lied about the house, about her past, I can prove a lot more than that. I pulled out copies of the documents from Marlene's box. Previous marriages, stolen money, court records, even a journal where she literally planned how to manipulate people. Philip's hands shook slightly as he read. Mauricio needs to see this. Not yet, I said. Mum's planning this big farewell dinner next week. All of Mauricio's important business associates will be there, including me, including you. I met his eyes. I have a plan, but I need to know. Will Mauricio act on proof, or will he let emotion cloud his judgment? Mauricio built his company from nothing. He's sentimental, but not stupid. Philip gathered the documents carefully. What do you need? Make sure everyone attends that dinner. And when I start presenting evidence, we'll back you up. He stood, straightening his suit. Mauricio's like a brother to me. I watched him work 20 years to build this company. Then help me protect it. After Philip left, I called Marlene. We're set for the dinner. Is Kaison still texting you? Non-stop. Says Angela told him I'm destroying the family by not helping with the house. Perfect. Forward me those texts. I smiled grimly. Mum always did love using Kaison as her emotional enforcer. Time to add his messages to the evidence pile. My phone buzzed. Mum again. Baby, Mauricio's so happy you're coming to dinner. He says you remind him of himself at your age. Smart with money, always planning ahead. If he only knew, I muttered. Another text followed. I know things haven't always been perfect between us, but this dinner means so much to me. A chance to show everyone what a close family we are. I thought about her journal entry, the cold calculation of using my emotional weakness about family obligations against me. For years she'd wielded guilt like a weapon, keeping us all dancing to her tune. My phone rang. Jocelyn. Your brother just showed up at our apartment, she said without preamble. He's drunk, saying you're tearing the family apart by not helping Mum. Don't let him in. He's part of her plan. Already handled. Told him I was calling the cops. He left, but Skylar... She paused. He said something about Mum promising him a cut of the money if he could convince you to do the right thing. Add it to the evidence file. I looked at Mum's text again. She wants to show everyone what kind of family we are. Fine. I'll show them exactly what kind of family we are. Be careful, Jocelyn warned. The bigger they are, the harder they fall, I finished. And Mum's about to fall hard. Another text from Mum popped up. Just picked out my dress for the dinner. Mauricio says I look like $1 million. I smiled at the irony. No, Mum. You look like several $1 million, but not for long. The dinner was 5 days away. Everything was in place. All I had to do now was wait and prepare to serve justice as the final course. The rooftop restaurant glittered like a jewel box against the night sky. I arrived early, clutching my designer handbag, borrowed from Jocelyn, which contained 3 identical folders filled with carefully organised evidence. Mrs. Schuyler? The hostess smiled professionally. The private dining room is ready. You're the first to arrive. Perfect. I needed time to place the folders exactly where I wanted them. The room took my breath away. Floor-to-ceiling windows, crystal chandeliers, white roses everywhere. A long table was set for 12, each place setting probably worth more than my monthly salary. Mum had outdone herself. the perfect setting for her final performance. I heard her voice before I saw her. "Baby, you look stunning!" She swept in, wearing a red designer dress, Mauricio close behind her. She hugged me tight, whispering, "Thank you for not making a fuss about the house situation. Tonight's about family." If she only knew. The other guests arrived in quick succession. Philip nodded subtly to me as he entered with his wife. Mauricio's lawyer came with his partner, 2 other business associates, a local judge and his wife, and finally, to my surprise, my brother Kaison. "Hope you don't mind," Mum said sweetly. "Family should stick together." Kaison wouldn't meet my eyes. He looked nervous, fidgeting with his borrowed suit jacket. Once everyone was seated, the wine started flowing. Mum was in her element, charming the room with practiced ease. "Before we start," she announced, raising her glass, "I want to thank my beautiful daughter for helping us save our family home. Her generosity—" "Actually," I interrupted, standing slowly, "I'd like to say something first." Mum's smile flickered. "Baby, maybe wait until—" "I've prepared a short presentation." I pulled out the folders, starting to distribute them. "About family, about truth, about consequences." "Skylar," Mum's voice held a warning edge, "this isn't the time. It's exactly the time." I placed the last folder in front of Mauricio. "Everyone, please open to page 1. The room fell silent as they began reading. Mum's face went from confusion to horror as she realized what they were seeing. "These are court records," I explained calmly, showing how Angela, my mother, defrauded her first husband, Robert, of nearly $500,000. Page 2 shows the bank transfers. Page 3 is her journal entry planning it. "This is ridiculous," Mum started, but Mauricio held up his hand, reading intently. "Page 4 shows the property records proving there is no foreclosure on our family home. In fact, Mum sold it last year for a substantial profit." I looked directly at her. "Before meeting you, Mauricio." The judge leaned forward, frowning at his documents. Mauricio's lawyer was already making notes. "Page 5 is particularly interesting," I continued. "It shows the cruise bookings. One way for Mauricio, round trip for Mum. Scheduled to depart the day before the River Heights profits clear." Mum stood up, knocking over her wine glass. "These are lies. Skylar's always been jealous of my happiness." "Really?" I pulled out her journal. "Should I read your leverage inventory out loud? Where you categorized your own children as financial targets." Kaison jumped up. "This is crazy. Mum wouldn't—" "Sit down," Mauricio said quietly. It was the first time he'd spoken. "Angela, is any of this false?" The room held its breath. Mum looked around wildly, mascara starting to run. "I can explain everything." "That's not what I asked." Mauricio's voice was ice. "Is it false?" The silence was deafening. Philip cleared his throat. "The trust fund terms are quite clear about financial fraud." "I did it for us," Mum cried, reaching for Mauricio. "Everything I did was to build a better life." Mauricio stood slowly, buttoning his jacket. "I'll have my lawyer contact you tomorrow." He turned to the room. "I apologize for this unpleasantness. Dinner is, of course, cancelled." One by one, the guests stood and left. Mum remained frozen, mascara streaking down her face as her carefully constructed world crumbled. "How could you?" she whispered to me. "Your own mother? You taught me well," I replied softly. "About family, about planning ahead, about using people's weaknesses against them." I picked up her journal. "I learned from the best." Kaison tried to follow me as I left, but I waved him off. "Your cut of the money's gone, brother. Better find another mark." In the elevator down, Philip touched my arm. "Mauricio wanted me to thank you. This could have been much worse." I nodded, suddenly exhausted. "Tell him I'm sorry it had to be this way." "Don't be. Some people only understand consequences when they're public and permanent." The night air hit my face as I stepped outside. Behind me, 20 stories up, I could imagine Mom still sitting there, surrounded by the ruins of her final con. My phone buzzed. Jocelyn. "Is it done?" "It's done," I texted back. "And Mum's never going to see it coming." The aftermath hit faster than I expected. By midnight, my phone was exploding with messages, mostly from Mum's flying monkeys, the relatives and friends she'd manipulated over the years. How could you humiliate your mother like that? Family problems should stay private. You've always been a cold, ungrateful child. I blocked them all, one by one, until only Kyson's message remained. You better watch your back, sis. Mom's not done with you. Jocelyn poured me a glass of wine as I showed her the threat. Should we be worried? Before I could answer, my phone rang. Mauricio's lawyer. Miss Schuyler, we need you to come in first thing tomorrow. Bring any additional documentation you have. Your mother is making claims. What kind of claims? She's saying you fabricated everything to extort money from her and Mr. Perkins. She's threatening legal action. I laughed. Actually laughed. Perfect. Tell her to do it. I'm sorry. Tell her to sue me. Because I have something I didn't show at dinner. I glanced at the USB drive on my counter. Something she really doesn't want made public. The next morning, I walked into the lawyer's office to find Mom already there, wearing her victim face, the one that had fooled so many people for so long. My own daughter, she sobbed to the lawyer, trying to destroy my marriage with lies. Interesting approach, I said, sitting down, especially considering this. I pulled out my laptop and played the video, security camera footage from her old house, showing her laughing with Kyson about the foreclosure scam, planning how to squeeze money from me. Where did you get that? Mum's mask slipped for a moment, showing raw fury. Marlene had cameras installed years ago, after you stole her retirement. I smiled. She kept everything. Every conversation, every scheme. Want to watch more? The lawyer cleared his throat. Mrs. Perkins, given this new evidence. That's not my name anymore, Mauricio said from the doorway. None of us had heard him come in. The trust fund terms were very specific about fraud. Mum's face crumpled. Darling, please. The accounts are frozen, he continued, as if she hadn't spoken. The house is in my company's name. Your belongings will be packed and delivered to wherever you specify. You can't do this. She turned to me, eyes blazing. This is your fault. I'm your mother. No, I said quietly. You're a con artist who gave birth to me. There's a difference. She lunged across the table, but Mauricio's security was faster. As they escorted her out, her screams echoed down the hallway. You'll regret this. All of you. I'm sorry, I told Mauricio once she was gone. About all of it. He shook his head. Don't be. Philip showed me the pattern. The other men, the stolen money. I would have been next. He managed a small smile. You saved my company. Thank you. Back home, Jocelyn was waiting with takeout and concern. Is it over? Almost. I checked my phone. Dozens of missed calls from Kyson. Just one loose end. Right on cue, he banged on our door. Schuyler, open up. Mum's hysterical. They're taking everything. I opened the door but blocked his entry. That's what happens when you help someone commit fraud, Kyson. She's our mother. No, she's your meal ticket, and now she's broke. I met his desperate eyes. I have footage of you helping her plan the scam. Want to see how that plays with your probation officer? He stumbled back. You wouldn't. Try me. Walk away, Kyson. Find a real job. Stop being her puppet. After he left, Jocelyn hugged me. You okay? Better than okay. I pulled out Mum's journal, her precious record of manipulations. I'm free. My phone buzzed one last time. A text from Mum. You think you've won? I made you. Everything calculating and cold in you comes from me. You're just like me, baby. Always will be. I typed back. You're right about one thing. I learned from you. I learned what not to be. Goodbye, Mum. Then I blocked her number, permanently. What now? Jocelyn asked. Now? I looked at the journal, then walked to our fireplace. Now we burn the past. I struck a match, touched it to the journal's pages, and watched years of manipulation turn to ash. And tomorrow, she pressed. Tomorrow I live my life without looking over my shoulder for the first time in 25 years. I smiled as the last page curled into flame. Tomorrow I'm finally free. The journal crumbled to ash, taking my mother's power with it. In its place, I felt something new growing. Not revenge, not anger, but peace. The kind of peace that comes from finally standing up and saying, no more. It was over. And I had won. 3 days after the confrontation at the lawyer's office, Philip called me for coffee again. This time, he looked relieved rather than worried. "She's gone," he said without preamble, packed up what she could and disappeared. Left her phone, credit cards, everything traceable. "Smart," I replied. "She'll resurface somewhere new, with a different name. Mauricio wanted you to know. She tried to access the accounts before she left. Multiple times." He smiled grimly. "The bank flagged some interesting transfer attempts." "How much?" "All of it. Every penny she could reach." He stirred his coffee. "She would have cleaned him out completely." My phone lit up with an unknown number. Kyson using a burner phone, probably. I declined the call. "Your brother's been calling the office too," Philip said, "claiming he has dirt on you, trying to leverage a payoff." "Let me guess. He's desperate for cash now that Mum's gone." "Got it in one." Philip leaned forward. "But there's something else. The River Heights deal. Mauricio wants to offer you a job. Says anyone who can spot financial fraud that well belongs on our compliance team." I blinked, surprised. "I'll think about it." Later that evening, Marlene came over with a bottle of wine and years of stored-up stories. "Your mother did this before," she said, pouring generous glasses. "When she was younger, small towns, lonely men, always moving on before anyone caught on." "How did you know?" "I didn't. Not at first. But I kept everything, every receipt, every letter, every clue. Started connecting dots." She took a long sip. "That's why she turned the family against me. I knew too much." My phone buzzed. Another unknown number. This time I answered. "Baby, listen." Mum's voice. "Calling from a payphone, Mum. That's almost vintage." "You don't understand what you've done," she hissed. "I had plans, security." "You had marks," I corrected. "And schemes. And now you have nothing." "I'm your mother." "No, you're a cautionary tale." I met Marlene's eyes across the room. "Don't contact me again." I hung up as Jocelyn walked in with dinner. Was that her? Last gasp of a dying con. I turned my phone off completely. She'll find new targets, new lives to destroy. "But not yours," Marlene said firmly. "Not mine." The next morning, I met with Mauricio's lawyer one final time to sign affidavits about Mum's fraud. The receptionist handed me a thick envelope. "From Mr. Perkins," she said. "Personal, not business." Inside was a letter. "Skylar, your mother fooled a lot of people, myself included. But you saw through her. You chose truth over family loyalty, right over easy wrong. That takes rare courage. The job offer stands, but so does my gratitude, personal and professional. You saved more than money. You saved years of future pain for everyone she would have hurt next. Whatever you decide about the job, know this. You broke the cycle. That's no small thing." Mauricio. Below his signature was a business card for a high-end therapist with a note. "She specializes in recovery from familial narcissistic abuse. Already paid for, if you want it." I slipped the card into my wallet just as Philip texted. "Kyson showed up at the office. Security removed him. He's spinning out. Might want to watch your back." As if summoned by the warning, my brother appeared on the street in front of me, looking desperate and unwashed. "You ruined everything," he shouted. "Mum's gone, I'm broke, and it's your fault." "No," I said calmly, noting the security guards already moving toward us. "Mum ruined everything. I just exposed it. She was taking care of us. She was using us. There's a difference." I stepped back as the guards approached. "Get help, Kyson. Real help. Break free like I did." "You think you're so much better than us," he spat, as the guards led him away. "But you're just like her. Calculating. Cold." "Maybe," I called after him. "But I calculate to protect, not destroy. That's the difference." I watched until he disappeared around the corner, likely off to drink away his latest failure. My phone buzzed one last time. Mauricio's lawyer. "Final papers filed. Trust fund officially revoked. It's done." I looked up at the clear blue sky, feeling lighter than I had in years. Mum was gone, her power broken, her web of lies exposed. She taught me everything she knew about planning, manipulation, and survival. She just never expected me to use those lessons against her. I pulled out the therapist card, finally ready to deal with the wounds she'd left behind. It was time to heal, and to become something she never could. Honest, real, free. The old family house stood empty, a sold sign swaying gently in the autumn breeze. I parked across the street, just watching. This was where it all started, where Mum first taught me about manipulation, about using people's weaknesses against them. My phone buzzed. Marlene. Ready for dinner? Jocelyn's already here helping me cook. These Sunday dinners had become our new tradition. Real family, built on truth instead of lies. Before I could reply, another text came through. Philip. Thought you should know. Angela surfaced in Miami, already engaged to some tech millionaire. I smiled, unsurprised. Mum would always be Mum, moving from mark to mark. But her world had shrunk. Mauricio's lawyer had made sure her fraud history followed her online, warning potential victims. Hey, a voice called from the house. Are you the previous owner's daughter? A young woman walked down the driveway, pregnant, glowing with happiness. We're moving in next week. The neighbours mentioned your family. Ancient history, I said. Make better memories here than we did. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost declined it, but something made me answer. Skylar? Kyson's voice, clear and steady. I'm at Healing Waters Rehabilitation Centre, part of the programme. We're supposed to make amends. I waited, listening. You were right, he continued. About Mom, about everything. I'm learning to see it now. The manipulation, the games. He took a deep breath. I'm sorry I helped her hurt you. Are you clean? 30 days, it's hard, seeing everything clearly for the first time. I know. I watched the pregnant woman return to her future home, her fresh start. Keep doing the work, Kyson. Call me when you hit 90 days. Back in my car, I found one last message. A forwarded email from Mauricio's lawyer. Someone matching Mum's description had tried opening accounts at 3 different banks using my social security number. Don't worry, the lawyer wrote. We've flagged all attempts. She can't hurt you financially anymore. I drove to Marlene's house, where warmth and honest love waited. Jocelyn was setting the table while Marlene pulled a lasagna from the oven. Her real recipe, not the fake one Mum used to claim as her own. Look what I found, Marlene said, pulling out an old photo album. Pictures from before, everything. We sat together, looking at images of a younger, innocent me. Before Mum's lessons about leveraging people's emotions, before I learned to question every act of kindness. You know what's funny? I said, closing the album. She thought she was teaching me to be strong, but real strength is this, building something true from the ashes of her lies. Speaking of building, Jocelyn grinned. Tell them your news. I pulled out some papers from my bag. I'm starting my own consulting firm, teaching companies how to spot and prevent fraud. Using everything she taught you to help people instead of hurt them. Marlene nodded approvingly. Perfect karma. My phone lit up one final time. Another unknown number. But instead of Mum's voice, I heard Mauricio. Sorry to call like this. Just wanted to say, the River Heights project is complete. The profits she tried to steal, we're using them to fund a support program for financial fraud victims. That's amazing. You inspired it, he said simply. Sometimes the best revenge is creating something good from something bad. After dinner, I stood in Marlene's garden, looking at the stars. Mum was out there somewhere, planning her next con. Kyson was in rehab, fighting for sobriety. The old house had new owners, ready to fill it with real love. And me? I was finally truly free. Not because Mum was gone, but because I'd chosen to be different, to be better. Jocelyn joined me outside. Deep thoughts? Just realising something, I said. Mum always said I was just like her, calculating, strategic, able to read people's weaknesses. And maybe I am. But I'm using those skills to protect people now, to build instead of destroy. I smiled. She taught me everything she knew about manipulation and survival. I taught myself how to turn those lessons into something good. Inside, Marlene was laughing at something, the sound carrying through the open windows. Real laughter, not Mum's practiced performance. Ready to go back in? Jocelyn asked. Yeah, I said, turning away from the stars. I'm ready for whatever comes next. Because that's the thing about breaking free from toxic patterns. It's not about forgetting the lessons. It's about choosing every day to use them differently, to be better, to heal. And in the end, that's the sweetest revenge of all.